first episode, I explained how you can use compressor pedals to really draw out the sustain that you're playing on a guitar. But what if you want to go beyond that? What if you want that sound to remain forever? Perhaps you're looking for a background layer to play other notes over. Delay, echo, and reverb effects can really help with this, but they don't quite solve that problem because the tone changes and the sound trails off. You could use a synthesizer keyboard, and this works especially well if you're playing the type of sounds classified as pads. But what if you're playing guitar and you want a note or chord to remain forever? In this video, I'm going to highlight some tools that will take your playing to infinity and beyond.
To infinity?
And beyond.
One tried and true method of achieving infinite sustain to have an ongoing sound is the classic EBow. EBow is short for electronic bow because it uses a battery inside to induce a magnetic field causing your metal guitar string to vibrate even when unplugged, and this vibration continues so long as the string remains in the magnetic field. You can also get a bit of a glissando effect by gently sliding the EBow across the different strings. I've only used the EBow, but there are now alternatives that use the same concept, including the Joyo Infinite Sustainer and the TC Electronic Eon. Another method of achieving a freeze, hold, or infinite sustain on your guitar sound is via effects pedals. There are a variety of guitar pedals that do this. One of the first well-known ones was the Electro-Harmonix Freeze, and this functionality was later built into the more full-featured EHX Super Ego Plus as well. However, there have been great improvements to this concept in recent years, which can be seen in pedals such as the Game Changer Plus. But in my opinion, the pedal that does it best, and with a pretty affordable price tag as well, is the TC Electronic Infinite Sample Sustainer. Let's take a look at some of the features that set the TC Infinite Sample Sustainer apart from other pedals. The level knob allows you to change the volume of your frozen layer. Fade in and decay knobs allow you to define how gently or abruptly the layer comes in, ranging from a slow swell to instantaneous. But these knobs can also be assigned to control a whole variety of parameters, including reverb levels and modulation effects. The TC Infinite can sustain more than one layer of sound. You can actually choose between 1, 2, 3, or infinite layers. There's also a send and return for an effect loop, and you can set the foot switch to be momentary, which holds the sound only when pressed, or latching, which maintains the freeze after a single press. But perhaps the best feature is that these do not need to be dull, static layers of sound. The TC Infinite can actually apply modulation effects to your frozen sounds, as well as a variety of reverb styles that can be applied to those sustained sounds as well as your dry signal if you choose. You can set all these parameters in the Toneprint app and save them to 3 Toneprint preset slots on the pedal. Using a USB cable, I connected to the desktop app on my PC and chose some different styles of effects and reverb for each of my patches. Let's listen to some now. For the first patch, I chose Through the Looking Glass, a single layer one with always-on church-style reverb and through zero flanger modulation. If you go into edit mode for the Toneprint, you can actually control a ton of parameters. As you can see, you can assign which parameters are controlled. On the router tab, you can adjust signal inputs and outputs to and from a variety of locations. The infinite tab lets you change the number of layers, as well as how much to dampen each layer that gets added, how to fade them in and out, and even filtering effects you can apply to them. The modulation tab lets you choose from 9 different flavors of chorus, vibrato, and flanger modes, as well as setting LFO types and parameters. On the reverb tab, you can choose from 14 different styles of reverb, as well as a variety of parameters and even dynamics, which dynamically alters the reverb based on your playing style and attack. The product settings tab shows whether you're in buffered or bypass mode, and whether you have kill dry engaged. When you turn kill dry on, only the wet or sustained hold will play, and you will not hear your dry notes at all. Let's hear another effect, which I've assigned to my second Toneprint, Dark Cathedral Tri-Chorus, which you can see is a dual layer effect with cathedral reverb and tri-chorus modulation. And finally, let's change some parameters to customize an effect. I started with the ambient vibrato preset, but decided I wanted to make it infinite layers, so I set that in the infinite tab, as well as dampening each layer by 3 decibels as they come in. But I also wanted some control over the rate of vibrato, so I assigned LFO rate control to the fade-in knob. As you can see, you can even define the curves at which the effect responds to turning the knob, but I'm just going to keep it linear right now for a dramatic effect. Let's play a freeze. Now I'll turn the knob to adjust the vibrato of the frozen sound. Now that we've learned some tools to expand our sounds to the edge of the universe, let's use them to play a song. I'm going to do a cover of Infinity by the XX. I'm going to aim for a more modern electronic take on this song, but I wanted to remain true to the sparse and lo-fi vibe, so I've decided I'm going to use my Atari 2600 to create the drum rhythms. I've modified this old game system to include updated video output and a stereo jack, as well as MIDI input, but in this case I'll just be using the touchpad controllers to play music using a custom designed cartridge called Synthcart by Paul Slocum. Synthcart allows me to play 2 different banks of sounds, including individual or arpeggiated notes, as well as drum machine style beats using the beatbox setting, which is what I'll use here. I've set the tempo at 74.9 beats per minute, which is a bit more upbeat than the original song. You can actually layer more than one rhythm, so I'll start with a basic beat and then add a more pounding bass sound later. Now that I have the basic beat, I'll play along on my Stratocaster through the TC Infinite pedal, which I'll use to freeze each strum. In this case, I'm using my Through the Looking Glass preset, which has some subtle always-on reverb and not so subtle sweeping flanger applied to the frozen sounds. I'm also using a Wampler Mini Ego compressor to boost the signal going into the TC Infinite, and finally I decided to add a little extra texture and flavor with the Boss Dimension C chorus. Now that the basic chord progression is there, I'm going to record the vocals using the TC Helicon Play acoustic pedal. In this case, I set a small, subtle amount of harmonization and pitch correction, and a much larger amount of spring reverb.
Hanging so high for your return, but the stillness is a burn. Had I seen it in your eyes, there'd have been no try after try.
Finally, rather than singing the female vocals for the chorus, I'm going to play that melody using the EBow. It's a little harsh, especially when transitioning between the strings, which takes some time to build up the vibration. So I'm going to apply the Lots of Space preset from Valhalla Vintage Verb in Ableton.
After all the time after you, had you seen me with someone new? Hanging so high for your return, but the stillness is a burn. Had I seen it in your eyes, there'd have been no try after try. Your leaving had no goodbye, and I just seen one in your eyes.